up to speed, up to speed, up to speed.
Live from the apocalypse, hearty and good for your teeth. This is State of the Game. And I am Dano. I want to properly queue up my relationship with my co-host. If you're listening to this, it's our 200th episode. If you're queuing in for the first time, I respect that. You know, think of us like the movie Tango and Cash. Okay, and I'm Cash, and my co-host K, Diggy, is Tango. And I know what you're thinking. Okay, you're Tango and Cash. But who's Kiki played by Terry Hatcher? Well, obviously that's hip hop. Right? So yeah.
I have to Google it. I don't know who any of those people are, but I will Google that to find out. To verify it.
Too young for that. The hey, you got to bone up on the 80s, man. Boning up. We're doing a Dipset podcast. Say things that they would be embarrassed by. It's awesome. So, and we have an all-star panel here for it. We're talking about SonRaw.
What up?
Dylan Green.
Peace.
Defcee.
You.
And others may pop in, they may not. Gang, I haven't heard from.
Oh, SonRaw. Very nice to meet you face to face. I saw,
man. What's up, bro?
I saw it with Satch in the
in
the little window.
Yeah, I don't even know how to change that, but I use it for work, so I got to leave it that way. Otherwise, my job's gonna have a lot of questions.
I know exactly.
Start connecting dots. Yeah, you work high school, right?
Yeah. One of the kids just came up to me today and was like, so Mr. Levin, and like showed me their phone, and it was Defcee, and I was like, well, I really wish I had tenure right now. But,
my girl's doing her internship right now she's graduating this summer to become a teacher, so she's right at the end of it now.
I just changed your name.
That's not
so you're good.
That's
to go.
hard. That's a tough job, man. Congratulations to her.
Yeah, I'll let her know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I changed your name for you, SonRaw, so you're good.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
We're gonna start talking about Granddaddy IU too.
Your granddaddy, yes.
Yeah.
You're doing great. So we are on episode 200. Before we launch into our celebration of Dipset, which honestly, this is less of an analysis attempt at Dipset and more of a group therapy session for what we've gone through with Dipset. But episode 200, Kay, is there any moments that Kay forgets everything we do at once it wraps, which is amazing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Really. Any moments you remember that were like, whoa?
I'll always love the airport episode. That's one of my favorite.
Your blade.
Yeah.
Airport.
I love the episodes we do where the people are in like random locations. And you can see it changing as the interview. Like we did an interview where we were speaking with one guest and she was driving in her car.
That's right.
Right. And when we started the interview, like it was like full sunlight out.
Yeah.
By the time it was done, like it was dark.
A Billy Free and the last that was A Billy
yeah.
Free. Yeah. No, I love Namir Blade was so smart too. That was insane. He was
the slice of life. I love the slice of life episode.
Oh, he was awesome. But there's two that I was thinking of. One was Luca came on, and shout out to Luca, who's got an incredible album out.
Oh yeah,
that Real Bad Man. Fucking great album. Luca came on once with he's come on a few times, but he came on and he looked at Kay and he said, last time you were here, you said I could grow in this way if I did this. How does this album, be into that? And he was like, he called you on. He was like, and I was like, God, these people are listening to what we say and shit.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's because
I was even thinking about. I forgot the shit I said. I was like, yeah, I said that. Yeah, okay.
What were you saying, Defcee?
It's because y'all care a lot about. I said it's because you guys care a lot about the music. Like that's kind of abundantly clear, I think, from all 200 episodes of this, and like for somebody like myself, my bad, I'm queuing up this gift before
Do
it
it.
gets into the
Do it.
Dipset talk. I'm queuing this gift up so I can get it. But nah, you guys like care about us as artists, as human beings. Like it's very rare that you have somebody who's willing to go in depth on independent artists who are not really readily covered elsewhere.
Right.
And I love the conversations I have with you guys because you sincerely love what it is. Like I can say the same from having been on Real Notes with Cinema Sci. I can say the same thing. Like the common denominator is always a whole lot of genuine love and respect.
Yep.
So I appreciate you guys, and really it's been like 200 episodes of you all giving flowers to people who typically don't receive them. So I appreciate you all, and want to thank you and congratulate you on 200 episodes.
Yeah,
it's really
thank you, man.
Yeah, man, it's y'all night.
Fucking Real Notes. You got Chung. I was so excited. I was like, you got Chung. There are uncles I would never talk to again to talk to Chung. Like, I love Chung's music so much.
I could probably get her on the show. I just, she hangs
Chung.
out all the time. Like she's actually not extra at all.
No,
she's like a hard worker.
So cool.
No, she's
at the interview, and like I did.
Like I don't know if I could get her on. I'm exaggerating, but like I've met her and she's just very chill.
Very chill. I did a review of her stuff and put it up, tagged her, and she didn't retweet it, but she like kind of reacted and interacted with a part of what I said in a separate tweet. I thought that was fucking awesome. She's so cool.
She's she's super cool. That was a great talk. I was a little sad that we didn't have like a new album to talk about, but we had been trying for it for a while. We had been trying for a couple months. Like she was busy, I was busy. I think I got sick at one point. Yeah. And then I was like, you still want to do this? And she was nice enough to be like, yeah. So like to be honest, I'm surprised she hasn't been on here yet. Because like because y'all were talking her up crazy. I had already been a fan, but like, just like how much Dan loves her. I was like, I was like surprised that I got her before you did.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Dan, you're coming up to Montreal this summer, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
All right. I gotta try and figure out some way where we can make that like there's got to be some way to make that happen.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's part of what I've always, since I started with the mixtape stuff, is the love that I show an artist can't be conditional, right? It can't be like, you ducked the interview, nah, I don't like you. Fuck all that shit. Like, I'm too old for that shit. If you're dope, you're dope, and that's that, right? Like, whatever. So yeah, that's exciting. The other thing I wanted to mention, Kay, recent episode, getting to talk to fucking Hellraiser about recovering from an aneurysm.
Oh shit!
Oh my god! Like being able to sit in Zoom with Hellraiser and be like, "What did you learn about patience?"
Yeah,
from recovering from the aneurysm, and getting that answer was, I'll never forget that shit.
Yeah, that's wild, man. There's never it's never not like bone shattering or like bone chilling to have a conversation with a rapper about mortality. Right. I did the same shit with Sky Zoo, like right after he had his vocal surgery when all the Brilliant Things came out. Yep. And like we just like talked about that for 20 minutes, and like he was just like, because like his voice just went out during a show and he didn't know what the fuck was wrong. He just went back to go get a doctor's. He went to go get a checkup. So I had polyps on his vocal cords and he had to like get surgery. He couldn't talk for a month after. And he told me like, I almost quit. Like I started rapping again and I didn't sound right. My voice was completely different. He was like, I almost quit. And I was like, why didn't you? And he was like, I put in too many hours and I love this shit too much. And I just kept pushing. Like those are like, that stays with me to this day. Like I've always been a Sky Zoo fan, but like I'm getting chills just thinking about it. That was shit like that is very intense, so like these guys are our superheroes to an extent. So it's it's a lot when they break down.
One of the advantages I had going into this, Dylan, was understanding that the people I'm talking to are brilliant, right? Sometimes people interview rappers as if they're dumb,
Yeah.
as if rapping is silly.
Right.
And I'm always like, nah, man, this, these guys are playing chess. This is fucking great. So I've always wanted to tilt it towards, you're not talking about how intelligent this is. And um, and that's everybody from Defcee to Glorilla to whoever the fuck, right? Like,
yeah, bro.
respect this art, so yeah, I just wanted, I think that's where at. But this is a Dipset. Oh, do you want to do the reveal first, or do you want to wait on that?
Yeah, nah, I wanted to. So I think in honor of your birthday, right, and in honor of the 200th episode of the show, I wanted to engage in what has been a long time Jewish tradition.
Oh my God, this is great.
Which is the celebrity roast of your hat collection. So I've prepared a series of jokes regarding your hats, and hopefully, if these are trash, please just edit them from the final audio.
This is the trailer. This is the trailer of the whole thing. You just
all right. Look, Dan buys all his rap hats in bulk at Sam's Club. That's the first one. Dan's hats are so cheap they got bounced from the discount trucker hat rack at a Kentucky gas station for violating the dress code. Eminem's 555 Soul Cypher hat once saw Dan's hat collection and said, "Wow, this dude is a nerd. I can fluence with words, but I rules absurd and the nude you're a turd." All right. That the last one was yeah. All right. In the military, Dan's hats were camouflaged to hide him from the enemy. Now that he's a civilian, Dan's hats try to camouflage themselves so they won't be seen with him. When Dan went to purchase his Dipset hat online, Dame Dash saw who was buying it and said, "My tax problems aren't that bad," then unsuccessfully attempted to cancel the order.
Oh my God, son.
Oh, I love it.
Dan asked for Bandcamp gift cards for his birthday so he could buy more music. For Dan's birthday, his hats asked for propellers so they would look less ridiculous. And then this next one is for all of my Wu-Tang fans here. Dan argues with his hats the way Ghostface Killah argues with his watches, but when he drowns them in a bowl of cereal, he still wears them afterward.
Oh wow.
That's cold.
If Dan's hats were a character from Martin, they'd be Shanae's butt pads. And then I got one last one.
I like
all right. In all seriousness, the ends of roasts are always very sentimental toward their subjects, so we can leave on a good note where I compliment Dan's hat selection and the positive impact that it has had on my life. So with that said, God bless and good night. Get home safe, everybody. Thank you very much. That's it. I'm out.
My hat's getting nervous now. My hat just wants to leave the interview.
That's
no, your hat's fine, man. Your hat
sneaking out the back door.
Yeah. No, I think Kay was here. I don't know what broke in my brain, but when the pandemic started, and the first episode of this was right in the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
April 2020. I was like, once the pandemic hit, I was like, nobody gets to see my head. I don't know why. I'm hats all the time. And that just stuck, and it just became the thing, and I kind of enjoyed that I had enough hats to keep it rolling. I kept doing it. It was great.
I would like to let you know that you have effectively neutralized the entire roast with sincerity.
Fuck.
So congratulations.
Yeah.
I wrote all of those jokes to just wind up looking like an asshole.
Killed it. I loved those. Those are great. By the way, Defcee said that I was the Paul Heyman of this stuff. He was trying to make fun of me, and I walked around with my chest puffed out for a week. I was like, yeah. Paul Heyman was like a hero in my neighborhood because we were just scumbags. But
but you also, I would also argue that another way to look at that's complimentary in order to, save whatever is left of the goodwill that I have on this show.
Do it.
Is that you put on for a lot of independent people who otherwise would be ignored by the more mainstream promotions. So I'll give you that as well.
He was creative with a low budget. I like that. So talking Dipset Memories, right? The basis of this, okay, is when I say Dipset, what are the memories that rush into your mind? What is the first one, right? And I knew we had to have this as episode 200 because my first memory is insane.
Okay.
But so I'll kick off with what comes to mind first. My dad hated two things. He hated people that look down on people and people that manipulate people, right? So pimps and pretentious people. That was his two. So he hated Joan Rivers more than anyone in America. Whenever Joan Rivers came on E, he would start swearing at the TV and talking at the TV like it was alive, like it was her. And so I would turn it to Joan Rivers because I just wanted to see him get worked up. I thought it was fucking hilarious. And all of a sudden I'm tuning in and Joan Rivers is talking about how much she loves Dipset. In depth. Like, they're so wonderful. They take care of each other. They buy things for each other. They are just the sweetest, most wonderful gem. I'm like, she hates everyone. She gets paid to shit on everyone. She's like, not Dipset. Those are good people. And I was like, really? She was like, that's what friendship should be. I was like, oh, Dipset is such a strange place.
So does she have a favorite member? Did she say?
Oh, I don't remember. And by the way, I couldn't find any of this on YouTube. But it happened. I'm not making it up. But no, I don't. I mean, I think she just loved the whole Rugrats-ish feel of it. Like Cam being the center, Zeke.
Did she get freaky around with Zeke?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what we want to know. Did she get freaky with Zeke?
Oh, yeah. Fair point. I would have loved to have her in a video pop out in Dipset clothing just at the end. Standing next to Dame Dash or something. That would be amazing.
I'm just picturing the famous Mariah Carey Cam Lambo chase.
Right.
But it's like Zeke's Acura. And they're just trying to get away.
Yep. Amazing. But it was a wild time. Kay, what is your first memory when you think Dipset? What hits you first?
It's really the Cameron song, Down and Out.
Down and Out. Fucking A.
Yeah, that was the first. I think that was
classic.
Like, when I remember, that's the first song that I loved, but had lyrics that like were absolutely made me cringe. And this was like when I was in like high school. I mean, I can try to read some of them, but of course I'm gonna have to edit. I treat B words straight up, like Simon says. Open your private parts. Put your legs behind your head. Caught me Air Ones, Hun, Lime, and Red. You got pets, me too. Mines are dead. Doggy, fox, minx, gators. That's necessary. Accessories. My closet's pet cemetery. I get approached by animal activists. I live in a zoo. I run scandals with savages. All of my N-words get together to gather loot. And it was just, I think, like, for me, that line sums up the whole Dipset experience.
Yeah.
Like, you want, there are times where you're like cringing, but at the same time, you can't stop listening to it on repeat. So.
Oh, so weird. Such a weird group of people. And then like you'd go from these disturbing images to like rhyming osh gosh bagosh with galoshes. And you're just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Oh my God.
It's very hard to digest,
Agreed. This is why we're here going through this together. So Cinema Sci, give me the first memory that pops to your mind when we say Dipset.
Whew, man, the first thing that pops into my head is stained Timberlands and wishes that I could own a pair of camo pants, which I don't think I really owned until either the end of high school or the beginning of college.
Right.
And the cover of Joel Santana's What the Game's Been Missing, because we were talking about chess earlier, and Son is like, it's like the close-up of him moving the chess pieces. It's funny, I just had my homie Gerard, formerly known as Danny Watts out of Houston, Texas, who used to run with John Wayne. He just put out a great album. Super dope. I'll send it to people later. But he was telling me about how growing up, Joel Santana's What the Game's Been Missing was one of his favorite albums. So like when I remembered that tonight was the Dipset thing, I was like, oh, I gotta go back and listen. Cause like that Purple Haze and Jimmy's album with We Fly High on it. Like those
Hustler's
are kind of like
Poem,
my
right? Hustler's Poem. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, those were my three introductions. Like I got into Dipset like around the time that I got into them around the time they had like broken mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like those three were kind of my introduction to the three to the whole, shebang. And then like Max B, who's not a part of Dipset but like might as well be a part of Dipset, was like, so like that's kind of where like my first memory kind of revolves around the Whistle song and What the Game's Been Missing. That's my whole shit.
Yep. Yep.
It's my whole shit.
Yep. We have to have that. Yeah. I mean, I remember, the Stained Timberlands thing makes me think of like SonRaw. Do you remember when like Two Dope Boys, whenever they would post about a Jim Jones song, they would post like Pigpen from Peanuts?
Yes. But see, that was like my Dipset. I'm going to jump in. My Dipset Memories was like the first wave of Dipset because you got a picture. So it's 2003.
Yep.
I'm 19 and, I'm a DJ, or I'm trying to be a DJ. I'm like this little baby DJ that's learning. I got my techniques and all that. And all the hip hop that I had was kind of mostly passed down to me by like the older heads. Like, oh, you got to get on this Wu-Tang. You got to get on this Doom. You got to get on this whatever it was. And like, there was, that whole mainstream underground divide. And Dipset was really like the first group that I was able to just go, nah, this is mine. You guys don't get it, but I'm right this time. Like it was a little bit with Rough Riders with that, but it was, I was too young to really state my case at the time. I couldn't really argue for it. So my first Dipset memory that comes to mind was I was 19, junior college, in a communication program. Nothing that I have learned in that program exists anymore. Flash animation, the cameras formats don't exist. Like everything that I paid for does no longer exist.
Right.
I'm in a class and they need to show how to put some music in a video or something. So they ask like, does anyone have an MP3 player? This was like new at the time. It's pre-iPod. I'm like, I have one. I have like the little Rio 64 megabyte MP3 player. And all I have in it is Diplomatic Immunity. And I'm like, you can use anything that you want on this, but I don't think you're going to like it. And teacher, she's youngish, like under 30. If I, she was fly, but like a nerd. And she's like, oh, you got Purple Haze on this. And she's thinking Jimi Hendrix. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, I've got Purple Haze on this. I think it lasted 30 seconds. It was like the Seymour Skinner going, this act is over.
Was it like Get 'Em Girls, or what was it? Just
No, it's I'm trying to remember the lyrics. It's like a pitched up Heatmaker sample. It's like a 6/8, like da, 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 oh. Like he's talking to like Tito, who's rolling up his blunt in between his verses.
Yep.
And then just rhyming about whatever. It was that song that she put on because she thought it'd be Jimi Hendrix. And it didn't make it till the end of the song. So like to me, when I think of Dipset, like I really think of being a kid and like pissing off older people because they just didn't get it. And like where I was from, just generally old people didn't get hip hop, but like they could kind of work their way around like a Tribe or whatever, or like the skater metalhead kids would like get Wu-Tang, like, oh, that's dark, Mobb Deep. But like Dipset were like brash and arrogant and flashy in a way that if you didn't get their sense of humor, they just upset people. And like I really gravitated towards that at that specific age. Like I wasn't conflicted about liking Dipset at any point. I was always like, no, these guys are fucking amazing. Like I always thought, like I was listening at the time, like this a little bit before Doom, but like it was like Cam and Ghost were similar to me because it was just like outrageous flyness. And so like to me, it's like it just made sense in that way. And plus, like they still had the same beat, the "Come Home with Me" beat, and the watch, the ice beat. So like I was just like, yeah, this all makes sense to me.
Oh, Defcee, more heat makers than you can shake a stick at. There was a lot of heat makers going on in this Dipset run.
So the first memory I have of Cam is the "What Means the World to You" video.
Yes.
On it must have been on Rap City or TRL. Where he's riding around in the with the hot tub in the back of the limo. I remember it was that. And then after that, I bought like every issue of The Source between 2001, like the summer music preview issue 2001, and like I think the Fat Joe Terror Squad cover in 2005. I bought every issue. And I remember reading about Oh Boy before I heard it. And I remember reading the description of the song and being like, this sounds crazy. Like the way that they described it, I'd never heard a song that sounded like that. And then I listened to DJ Ferris's mix show on Power 92 and he played Oh Boy. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm over here like 11, 12 years old, never heard anybody like warp their lyrics or like rap their lyrics around a sample before like that, like a vocal sample. And then I was just, and then it was Hey Ma. And then my edited version of Diplomatic Immunity that I wore out. The first Joel Santana solo record, From Me to You. I love that album. Edited version of that too, because I was very young. And also something that I don't know if a lot of people know this. I feel like this is like the worst kept secret, but Cam's mom used to live in Chicago. So Cam's mom used to live on like the west side of Chicago. So when he's saying I'm on the west side of Chicago looking for a bus down, yeah, like bus down was a very Chicago specific term for a very promiscuous person. And I remember everybody who heard that was at the time where like Chicago, with the exception of one or two artists, you never heard about us. So we're hearing that in the record and we're losing our minds because it's like, yo, he's putting on. I also remember the original version of Dipset Anthem with the hook with like the actual lyrics from the songs that they couldn't clear the samples for. So like the actual, like today's agenda, got the suitcase up in the Centra, go uptown to Harlem, tell them that I sent you. It's what it's supposed to be. And then like the hook with the where he borrowed from Ghetto Boys, like I'm in a four-cornered room staring at candles, listening to gangster music. Hey, and then I still remember Get 'Em Girls, the original sample, as opposed to the replayed one, which if anybody has that original Get 'Em Girls with like the actual sample, I would love to hear that because I haven't heard that in like 20 years.
I've got that with What's Really Good. They replayed that on a Triton, but I think it was like a sample from Coming to America or something, and they just couldn't clear it.
Yeah.
And I Love You, that joint had like this crazy like doo-wop sample. And apparently the reason they couldn't clear it was because Jewel's like shouted out Muhammad Atta on it, and like the original artist was like, hell no, we're not clearing this.
And that was the other crazy thing too, was like 9/11 had just happened and these guys were calling themselves the Taliban, like all over their
immediately.
They had a song called Ground Zero on Diplomatic Immunity and they were still calling themselves the Taliban. That was a wild time.
Jewel's in particular was going crazy. I think he like compared himself to Saddam Hussein, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
He might have.
Muhammad Attaf for sure. He had a couple of. There were a couple. I always thought it was like a mix between like, yo, fuck downtown, like they don't really care for us, and like this coping mechanism at the same time. But that was like how I was seeing it from outside of New York.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I mean, Diplomatic Immunity is a hell of a re-listen. It's a hell of a re-listen. It's a staggeringly strange album. Like it starts with the freestyle from Casa, who they just signed or something.
Yeah, but they were signing. That was the thing, though. It was like if you could rap and you were from Harlem, they were trying to put you on. Like I'm thinking people like Charlie Clips was on those Bird Gang Dipset tapes, and now he's on Wildin' Out.
Well, now, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like J.R. Ryder, like the sheer amount of talent. Casa was on
There
Smack
was
TV
there was a year
T-Rex.
that I thought J.R. Ryder really had next. I was
he
telling
was
everybody.
awesome.
I was telling everyone J.R. Ryder's got next.
Peak J.R.
I was
Ryder.
not right.
I was having arguments with kids in my 11th grade math class over who is a better rapper, J.R. Ryder or Ghostface Killer. And they were genuinely like, I had no backup. Nobody had my back. It was just me and Ghostface against J.R. Ryder in my entire high school. It was crazy. But yeah, JR in his prime as a teenager, like the things he was coming up with, these damn 7 to 9 minute raps that he just memorized and kick on the radio on command. JR really, and to this day, like he still has some verses that I really rock with, like some of his newer stuff too. But man, that era of J.R. Ryder was really, and I used to front on him super crazy because I was by that point underground hip hop. I'd switched on Cam and the whole crew, right? I acted like I didn't have From Me to You on repeat for entire summers, right? Because I was like in my company flow, Mad Villainy, Chino XL, Razcast bag, and but yeah, and then I got older. I thought Dipset was going to win the verses with the Locks, to be honest. I was convinced that was going to be competitive. But I should have known better. And I'm going to save the rest for off the record.
that just came down to performance, honestly. Like Jada just ate everything, you know. Like it's because like on paper that's an extremely close fight, but Jada just manhandled the whole thing, and like once he got it, it was over. Like there was like they could have played Oh Boy 50 times and Jada would have bodied it by himself. Like Sheik and Styles were just along for the ride at that point. Like
it was also what was so sad was it was very clear that those three no longer really liked each other.
Yeah,
like, there was something about that performance where it was like these guys did not rehearse because they did not want to be in the same room for an extended time.
They were there for the check, bro. Easy.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's just because they didn't. Like the way I see it is like I don't think they've ever rehearsed in their life though. Like the whole Dipset thing was not caring, and that works when you're really cool, but it doesn't work in a situation where you kind of have to give a shit about what's going on. Like that was like a disadvantage for them just because like say what you want about like Jada, it's like he didn't have it like these hits or whatever. It's like he cares about rapping and that's his brand, whereas Cam's thing is like, yo, I don't even care and I'm still iller than you.
Right.
Which like works in the right context, but not on stage like head to head.
Right. And then on top of that, not when Jada can come out and be like, I don't live in Colorado. I'm in Yonkers still, like like to go back to
Miami.
Miami, like come on. It was over. They walked into the Lion's Den and it was a wrap.
It was a wrap.
Well, when they said like we don't have hits and they started dropping those R&B joints back to back because we'd all forgotten, I was like, oh fuck, they do have hits.
When they dropped the J-Lo remix, I was like,
I was just like, this is over.
Because I was like, that's one of like 4 good J-Lo songs. So like that's a silver bullet, like
Rob from Next Movement is here and he's got my high school yearbook picture behind him. I appreciate this.
What's up, Rob?
This is good work being done. I thank you for coming. Rob, have I told you how impressive I am? This is 200 episodes. I just got a tweet liked by Jay Hood. That's how I'm doing. So
can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive. Hey, congratulations, man. That's a big
friend
deal.
of Jay Hood. That's what I'm going to start telling people.
I mean, on the 200 episodes, not the J Hood.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Fair point. The 200 is great. Yeah. So we're sharing our Dipset memories. Mine was how Joan Rivers loved them, and it was very strange. And yeah, we went all around and talked about, diplomatic immunity and when that hit. What is your first, when I say Dipset, what comes to mind first for you?
Well, I got to be honest. I don't know anything about Dipset, honestly. If you listen to our episode with Sleeping Dogs, they picked Cameron's Purple Haze. Yep. As the album to talk about. And I had to admit, I never really got into Dipset. I never really understood Cameron. It's too bad Gang's not here because he could testify to this. I had to hit him up when we did that episode. I was like, please explain Cameron and Dipset to me. Since then, though, what's been helpful to me is comparing them to State Property and the stuff that went on here in Philly around the same time.
Definitely.
Those guys were really representing the city in a real way, and people connected with them as a result. And it seems to me Dipset was the same thing in New York.
And that for me is almost like the real, if we're talking rapping.
Yep.
In rap styles, that for me is almost like a much more interesting conversation, State Prop versus Dipset, as opposed to the Locks or D Block. Shout out to Jay Hood, friend of the podcast. I would say that's probably a much more interesting conversation.
Yep.
But yeah.
To this day, if you ask me what's the better album, Philadelphia Freeway or Diplomatic Immunity, it can change on any other day, because those were and I had both of those ahead of the Black Album in 2003. Those are my favorite Rockefeller. That was peak rock for me. That everything was perfect. Jay was still rapping. They hadn't signed people that weren't dropping yet. It was everyone had their release. It was those are the good old days. When I hear everybody's talking about the good old days, it's peak rock.
I would go Philadelphia Freeway just because the skits are really hard to deal with on Diplomatic Immunity. There's so many fucking skits and there's so much nonsense. There's just 40 seconds of Dame Dash kind of hitting on a lady, and then it just goes away. I'm like, what is happening here? Why is this on the album?
But we got an incredible Billy Woods hook because of that.
That's fair.
True.
Fair.
The transcripts read like Cameron skits.
Yeah, no, it's all part of the Uptown experience, baby. That's all it is. That type of shit happens Uptown all the time.
Yeah. Sidebar.
Yeah.
I was listening to Mobb Deep's Murder Music yesterday.
Yep.
And there's that whole phone message where the girl's yelling at him for all this sexual impropriety. And I'm you could not put that on a CD today. And you should. I was just I'm surprised they still have this on the old version. I'd have gone back to the masters and cut that shit out. That sounded really bad.
I'm very
20
excited.
years later.
You don't know. I want to reveal this. On the next Defcee album, there is a sex phone message thing.
Nah, don't do that. Don't do that.
But
don't
look,
do that.
I'm gonna. Don't worry about it.
This is all false misinformation. This is all misinformation.
It's just
is it a voicemail from Dan?
And it's not even funny. And this is payback for the Hat Collection roast. I know he took it personally.
Damn, son.
You missed the Hat Collection roast, Rob. Sorry about that. But no, it's they had a lot of weird stuff. Diplomatic Immunity is an incredible study. If somebody would how did hip hop react to 9/11? You could just hand them diplomatic immunity and be like, here it is. We made jokes, we hit on women, and we said we loved New York, and then we made bangers,
Yeah. American flag bandanas and paper towels, man. That's all it was.
Facts. Throwback jerseys. Big,
throwback,
extra long throwback. Pause. Throwback jerseys.
Yep.
My bad. I don't care how that sentence is necessarily perceived, but in the spirit of the theme of the episode, I had to say that.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
But yeah, I remember that was the other thing too. It was like there are two fashion trends I remember in high school, right? And it was like pre-Jeezy and pre-Dipset.
Oh my gosh.
Jeezy and post-Dipset, where it was like everybody had the throwback Mitchell and Ness joints on.
Yep.
Or people had the Can't Ban the Snowman t-shirts on. Like those were the two when I was in high school. Those were like the two hip hop fashion trends that caught on the most. That and like the big belt buckle that you tucked your t-shirt in behind while you let the rest of the t-shirt.
Jeans. So I always thought the Mitchell and Ness was fly, but it was the white tee that's so long that it looks like a muumuu. Where I was like, I can't that I couldn't pull off. I was like, nah, I can't walk out looking like this.
Oh, I had
nah.
My clothes were so big, I didn't know my pant size for a good 5 years. Like, I would walk in and be like, fuck it, just give me the biggest you got, bro. I got it. I got a belt. I'll handle it. And when I first started dating my wife, she's like, you're insane. This is not how grown-ups operate in the fucking world. So we got
the belt buckles though. The belt buckles. Y'all remember?
Oh my god, the belt buckles.
I used to work at a sneaker store here in Philly, and we sold LCD belt buckles. You could like put a message on the belt buckle.
I remember the LCD belt buckles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you gotta tuck your shirt in when you're wearing an LCD belt buckle.
Since Defcee brought up the Can't Ban the Snowman t-shirts, did anybody who was in school around that time either get sent home from school wearing one or know someone who got sent home from school wearing one? Because I do. I didn't get banned, but there were like at least 2 or 3 kids in my middle school who got sent home because they wore Snowman t-shirts around the time Thug Motivation came out. That's a fond memory of mine.
I was in college by then.
That's crazy. How did the snowman affect you, Kay? Were you doing the snowman?
I mean, I went to a Jesuit high school, so we didn't really have too much.
They didn't even know they
wasn't really concerned about that.
It was they were unaware.
Maybe people were wearing it under the suit and under the dress shirt, but
yeah. Explode out of it, bro. But it's I was gonna say, Rob, do you remember the Anderson Cooper Cameron interview?
I don't.
Oh my god,
that sounds fun though.
The snitching interview. I think it is the low point of the Dipset movement. So 60 Minutes was doing a story on snitching, right? The Stop Snitching movement.
Yeah. Right.
And so Anderson Cooper needs to find a rapper to really get to explain this no snitching thing and to make him look silly, right? It was one of the, you remember 60 Minutes did like 3 different kinds of stories, right? There was the basic news event, there was the fluff piece, like, isn't Penelope Cruz adorable? And then there was like, be scared of this new shit. And the Stop Snitching was be scared of that new shit, right? And so they got Cameron, and he just fucking failed on every level in response to these questions. Like, it was clear what the agenda was, and he just dropped the ball. And the big pull point was Anderson Cooper asks him, like, would you ever call the police? No, I would never call the police. What if there was a serial killer in your neighborhood? And he says, no, man, I'd just move away. What about the kids in your neighborhood, bro? Like, oh man.
Wasn't Cameron on Fox News at some point
Yes,
too?
it was
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
Bill
say,
O'Reilly one.
That is
That one
Yeah.
was great. That
I
was
got dirt on you,
actually
doggy.
genius.
Yeah. It's great.
I
Classic
felt
moment.
I
That's a
felt
lot.
bad for the educator who was on there, because him and Dame Dash were trying to have a real conversation about responsibility. I mean, I don't know how serious it was, but like they were attempting it. But Dame brought in Cam just clearly to troll O'Reilly because he knew he needed someone to take out this old racist white guy who was like setting him up, and it worked so well. But like, I'm just trying to see the other two. They're just trying to have a realistic conversation about responsibility and art and freedom of expression, like all these things that you can have a real adult conversation about if you're not on Fox News. And then you have Cam.
He was so frustrated that he was calling them brother, but in the very angry way, like a very direct, angry way. It was really weird. And but that's an all-time classic. They aced that. They did that their way. But the Anderson Cooper thing was not. That was the wrong. He got caught up in that. And I was thinking alternate history. 60 Minutes just grabs a rapper at random. But what if they had been more targeted? The real pioneer of the stop snitching movement was The Game, with the stop snitching mixtapes and DJ Ski and all that shit. If they had had a real person doing that research, they could have gotten The Game. And
I don't know if that would have gone well for The Game, though.
The Game is one of the most insane interviews in hip hop history. If you had this would have been like Butterfly on the Face Game. Sitting with Anderson Cooper talking about snitching, it would have been so much more insane. And it would have saved Cam a lot of trouble. So
this has me thinking of, I think my favorite and a lot of people's favorite Dipset moment on TV was the Rap City freestyle with Cam counting the money over My Block by Scarface.
Right.
That was just in peak TV.
That was peak TV. Dylan, what would you say is the low point of the Dipset thing?
Like we got to reckon with the whole pause thing. Like as great as it is, as great as it is to relive it for a little bit here. Like obviously, it's crazy because I know Cam and Mace are kind of starting to like bring it back a bit, and I'm just like, damn, we like just got over it, like finally, like 2-3 years ago, and now it's back. It is what it is. That's not the conversation we're here to have. But like if I were to pick something different, I would probably say the low point of Dipset. Trying to think of damn, you might need to come back to me. That's a tough question. I know one exists, but like there isn't like this is just like because let me put it this way. Cam was in Paid in Full. Paid in Full is a classic. He might be the best part of the movie, arguably.
Yep.
You could argue either him or Mekhi Phifer are the best part of Paid in Full.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if I had to pick one right now, gun in my head, I would say whenever Juelz and Jimmy decided that it was time to start acting because the two of them can't act. But Cam was always able to sell it. He just has more charisma, I think, like I'll never forget hearing the story about how he showed up to the set of Paid in Full to audition with like an actual gun and like pulled it on the person, and they were just like, yo, like you get the part, fuck it, like it's like that's I don't know, you just I don't even know, but
I guess it's a great point. Sometimes you don't know if it's a low point or a high point, right? You're like,
preparation.
Not right, because I know there was a period of time where like I'm blanking on it right now, but I like vaguely remember seeing Jim and Juelz like either guest star on a show or like on a reality show or something like that. And like Jim was able to pull it off and do his thing with like the weatherman stuff and all that other shit, and that's always fun to see. But like, I don't know. I just think I think the low point was when most of them decided to do anything that wasn't music related. Like Joel's got no business doing anything that's not rapping. I'm sorry, bro.
Right.
Like nothing at all. And like I love what the game's been missing, but Joel's never needs to do anything but rap. Like not everybody needs to be Will Smith, jack of all trades, master of some.
Right.
Joel's just needs to rap. You know, and I think that's kind of where that would be my choice. I'm blanking on more specific.
I dig that. I dig that as a choice. And Defcee, we should talk about the homophobia. It is a part of the conversation we have, right? Because they were given a ton of credit for breaking gender roles by exploring interesting outfits, crazy colors, but they were screaming homophobic slurs in their music randomly at the most random times in ad libs and doubles. You could totally cut it all out and it wouldn't hurt any of the songs because it's never related to what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of those lyrics from a lot of rap from that era, like there are a lot of rappers that are very guilty of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
including people who are very well, like very highly regarded and well renowned now. But I think it was because they turned it into a game. So the pause game was something that grew out of it. Like my parents know what pause means. My parents are damn near 70. Like my dad turned 70 later this month. You know what I'm saying? Like they know what pause is. They used to do like gender neutral versions of pause at the dinner table, but they didn't know what they were talking about. They'd be like, "Hey, pass the potatoes, pause." I'd be like,
that's not how that works.
That's not how that works, Dad.
Amazing.
But yeah, like I think it was because it kind of wound up becoming like a parody of itself.
Yeah.
It became like a very goofy and silly thing to do. And then it wound up being ultimately the jumping off point for a lot of conversations about homophobia and hip hop.
Yeah.
And became, for like a lot, myself included, like a lot of young rappers, that was kind of the point in time where we were like, this is a little too, we shouldn't be, like, this is not something that we should be doing. Like that was the point at which I think a lot of us grew out of that, because we were thinking about it and it was like, people are so insecure about saying things that could even be perceived in this way, that we're saying stuff like this. And we're 16, 17 years old thinking this way.
Right.
So I think that was, for a lot of us, like, I think that was ultimately kind of the low point, for me at least, was, just, and this is me using context clues because I had to log off and log back in, but I think ultimately that was the low point, is suddenly you've given homophobia this kind of mass appeal that has caused people to not take it as seriously. And I think those of us who knew better got to a point where we kind of saw that for what it was, and we're like, nah, we don't need to be doing this anymore. You know what I mean?
I've got nothing to add to this conversation. I'm here for an education and just to hang out. But I just looked some stuff up. Cameron actually said last year he says pause too much. And he kind of describes it as like something he can't control. It just like comes out of
it's his personal Tourette's.
Yeah, it's a tick. Like,
he's got a pause tick. He's got a pause tick.
Ridiculous.
That's crazy, son.
That's awesome.
So used to
it's like Tiger Woods coming and being like, I've got a sex addiction. Like, it's like,
that's how you know some shit's gone too far. Like, you can't stop it anymore. Like, that's funny. So
I think what Defcee said was right, though, because I remember back when I would be fine with what Dipset did, but when, like, I don't know, like Vinnie Paz or Eminem would like say slurs and stuff, I'd be less okay with it because it sounded hateful, and it was just like straight up like, I was like, why are you picking on these people? But with Cam, it was insidious because like, oh no, he's just playing. So it's like, it wouldn't, like, it didn't bother me. And like, I didn't mean anything by it, but I could see Like now, from the vantage point of more maturity and as society we've thankfully advanced, I could see how that kind of insidiousness could almost be more hurtful because it normalizes stuff.
Right. Totally.
Crazy, man. Crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of that weird homophobic stuff. I was gonna say, in terms of Jewels, I know there's a lot of Jewels love here. I was always a Jim Jones as my number 2 man person.
I see it. I see the vision.
They
all 3 of them were dope. Like at their peak, all 3 of them were great. So there's an argument to be made for all 3 of them to be whatever position. So I get it.
Yeah. To me, the comp for Jewels kind of reminded me of Corrupt. Like incredibly talented, incredibly fun to listen to, but never a real fully formed artist.
I think if Jewels dropped before Diplomatic Immunity, with all the mixtape songs that were meant to be on his album that ended up like being on K Slay tapes, and then like, okay, we'll put out like a double CD compilation just to put them out, I think the narrative would have been different. Because like you listen to all those Diplomatic Immunity songs, he had the hooks.
Yeah.
And like I always felt like that was his debut album, and it kind of got spread out amongst the crew. And then he had to, like, 6 months later or whatever, put out a whole new tape. I always thought they kind of did him dirty with that move.
Yeah, he dominates Diplomatic Immunity in a lot of sections. Like he really does. Defcee, I saw you cringing at my analysis of the Jewels. Make the Jewels case.
So first of all, I think Jewels was a child star, which a lot of people don't know. Like he was, from the time he was 15 years old, he was in Unsigned Hype in the Source. Cam had discovered him. He was like on the tour bus with everybody, essentially getting hazed, no pun intended, getting hazed, and essentially being told to write like 100 bars a night, and being told to rehearse and all of that. Like he really was. It was being a child star in an entirely different context from Hollywood, but basically a lot of the same rites of passage.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of the same outcomes too. He got abandoned by a lot of people whose careers he helped continue to make relevant for a long time.
Definitely.
And I also think he was the other side of like the Vortal Megacoin as well, where Jewels was just such a naturally gifted rapper that all you needed to do was put him in front of a mic and tell him to go, and he went. In a similar fashion to Vortal. They just had 2 very different approaches to it. And of course, them being from the same city, right? That also factored into it too.
Right.
But I also think that Jewels was like, I have a lot of love for Jim. I think Jim's catalog is underrated. I think his late career stuff is much better than Cam or Jewel's late career stuff. I really like a lot of the Wasted Talent record. I like the stuff he did with Heatmakers. I like Capo, the El Capo record. But
that Heatmakers album that came out like 4 or 5 years ago, however long it was. That album's nuts. Like I listen to that so much, but I ran that shit into the ground. Washed, rinse, repeat. Sorry, I had to say that. Album's
no, I got to look that up. I never even heard that.
I'm gonna find it. Hang on.
And there's also on a Heatmakers related note, there's a record, Heatmakers, Fred the Godson, and Joel Ortiz called Gorilla Glue. That's insane. That's one of the best like rap albums that Joel has been a part of, or Fred the Godson been a part of easily. It's crazy. That was crazy.
Rest in peace to Fred the Godson, man. I was just thinking about Fred the Godson like a week ago. Like anytime I'm or not anytime, but like a lot of times when I'm depressed or feeling uninspired, I will go back and watch his first Funk Flex freestyle. That shit perks me up every fucking time. I love Fred the Godson.
Yeah, I mean, being a mixtape person, like I remember when Fred the Godson passed, there were a lot of people who weren't tuned in to the scene who were like, "Who was that?" I'm like, best fucking sports metaphors running, incredible. Like his sports metaphors were on point. He was a joy. He was a joy. And I don't feel like we ever got the Fred the Godson project that we wanted. But
nah, you gotta check out that Heat Makers record.
Okay.
Yeah, that shit is crazy.
That Heat Makers Joel Fred record is nuts. It's really good.
What's the Jim Jones Christmas album like?
Ooh.
See that I know nothing about. I don't know nothing about no Jim Jones Christmas album.
I gotta put that on my list. I keep a running.
How can the Koofy Smacker have a Christmas album?
The Koofy Smacker. I love that.
I mean, one would argue that if you're out there intentionally smacking that specific kind of religious headgear, you're probably gonna make a Christmas album.
Either that or he's just a man of many hats.
Yep. I can't. Dylan Green.
Much like Dano.
Right. Right. It's
man of many hats.
I've got like a couple of Jim points, but first I wanted to say another rest in peace to Kay Slay,
right?
Whose intro on "Come Home with Me," I'm actually not gonna say it now because there's other people in the room,
right?
But possibly one of the like funniest but worst statements you can make about like dating advice.
Right.
But I think my low point for Dipset might have been when Jimmy put on the tight acid wash jeans. I know that's a controversial take. Some people liked it. I thought that was like, that's the beginning of the end. But, and I'm not sure if I've said this on this podcast or another, but I try and say it as much as I can, and it ties into the Vordel mega point. Billy Woods on Houthi kind of sounds like Jim Jones in his vocal tone.
Wow.
And once you listen to it, you can never unhear it. And I don't think it was purpose. I just think it came out that way. They're from New York. They got their voices, and it's just on that one particular joint. I just remember listening to it and be like, he kind of sounds like Jim Jones.
Yep. Billy Woods, write your piece for freemusicempire.com about your love of Jim Jones. And honestly, I'm here. I will do it. I'll post it.
Woods, like speaking from personal experience, like Woods is a very big Dipset fan.
I believe it.
Yeah. He loves that, and he loves Jay's Volume 3 a lot. Like when I wrote the Pitchfork piece about Backwoods last year, I was in the studio while he was recording his verse for the Samuel T. Herring song that came out, a single, and like there's a reference to Come and Get Me on there. And while they were recording that verse, it was him, Willie Green, and Alex Richter. The three of them were talking about how much they love Volume 3 and like picking it up the first time and going to this like they're all huge on that on like that era J, like all the Dipset stuff, like they love that shit. So
I was on Call Out Culture and Castro told me the same. Like I was on like we broke down that specific album, and it was like this whole like what's Jay's best later era album. It was like that one versus the Blueprint, and I always said the rhymes were that much better on Volume 3 because he was still.
Yeah,
and we're getting off topic.
No,
of course.
So the Jim Jones, I just wanted to say on the Jim Jones front, I think the reason why people don't think about Jim Jones in that way, like I have never ever heard, how dare you not have Jim Jones in your top 5? Like I've never heard that in my life. But Jim Jones doesn't really have a classic album per se.
He doesn't.
No,
but he has.
You know what? Kind of the Pitchfork review by was that Sheldon Pierce or Alphonse Pierre, Dylan?
Which one?
Somebody
the summer one.
Oh,
I remember
that was Paul. That was Paul Thompson. I actually have it open, and I was looking for it earlier. I have it open right now. Yeah.
Yo, I went back and listened, and there are like a couple joints that are like, but that one is actually a much better record. That aged a lot better than I thought it would.
That's not fair because Paul Thompson could probably get me to like a Celine Dion record.
Yeah,
like that meant like.
Nah,
it's like the opposite of a hit piece. He can get me to like anything. I'm just I read it and I'm like, maybe I was wrong about my whole life.
Yeah, Paul's different, man.
Yeah, he's the anti-Ian Cohen. He's the Anyway, but I would say which it's great. Like I would say, Jimmy has a whole massive discography of very good. You could put on The Kitchen, it's very good. You can put on El Capo, it's very good. You can put on Fraud Department, it's very good. You could
Ghost of Rich Porter.
Right.
Ghost of Rich Porter is a great mixtape. That's a great mixtape.
And the crazy thing is, he fits anywhere with anybody. I've heard songs with him and Jada, but I've heard songs with him and Mozzie and Filthy Rich and Currency, and it's all fine. You can put Jimmy anywhere.
Yeah, the joint that Jim Jones is on with it's on a Currency and Frauds Forerunners, whatever it's called. That song goes crazy. I ran that shit into the ground when it came out. And then there's another song Jim's on which one was it? It was Jay Worthy. It was the Jay Worthy and Larry June project that that came out a couple years ago.
That's right.
Jim has a verse on that album. That song's stupid.
Oh yeah. I love that record actually.
Nah, it like I didn't love the whole record at first, but like that one song was the constant, and then the rest of it grew on me. London, I'm up and down on London Drugs, but like that project's really solid.
I think I just liked hearing them over West. Like I like Larry June and I like Jay Worthy over like Rock Marcy and Alchemist, but I like them better over the funk beats. That was it.
Same, man. That's why I liked him and Cardo's album so much because like Cardo got that, you know. Cardo's a chameleon. Shout out to him. He's dope.
Yep.
But anyway, once again, off topic.
That's what, like, I wish I could get like Rock Marciano produced Jim Jones album or something.
Oof,
like that would be fun as shit. Like I would go for that. You know?
Yeah, I feel like I'd like that more than Bronze Nazareth had the Rock Marcy album that I thought was fine. Ekphrasis, I thought it was fine. I would love for Rock Marcy to like do more, like, do one for Jim Jones. That'd be pretty nuts. I think.
And to tie the Jay-Z stuff into Dipset, the one thing I always respected about Jay was he kept rappers around him who were really good. Like Jay was not trying to surround himself with, at a certain point, and I hate. She just was not the greatest rapper in the world, but she gets a lot of like unnecessary hate. Post a Mill, like he was really trying to surround himself with the best possible rappers. So like Bleak, Cam, Dipset, and I also thought that like a lot of the way that like Dipset carried the torch for him after he retired was put a battery in his back for him to come back. Because it was like at a certain point, it's you're listening to these guys who have kind of taken this game and run with it and are kind of throwing it in your face. Are throwing it in your face that like you essentially like we have the crown now, so we are gonna run with it, and we're not gonna be shy about it either. And I think that kind of brought Jay back, in addition to, you know, the little subtle and not so subtle jabs that they threw at each other throughout the years too. And I know it's not actually true, but I love the idea that Jay-Z started disliking Dipset over a parking space. That's one of the funniest.
I mean, if you heard the stories about them deleting verses from each other's songs and all that, amazing. So, and that's one of the things we should talk about here, Kay, is how Dipset fights with people, which is very different than how other crews fight with people, right? So, and I was thinking about this because I was thinking about Dig a Hole, like the Jay-Z song Dig a Hole.
Yeah.
And I've always thought a lot of beefs Jay-Z got into were professional turf fights, right? Like, I am the guy, you're not the guy, move out of the way. But he really didn't like Dipset. He really was actually pissed at Dipset. Dig a Hole is angry in a way the other disses are not. Takeover is like a resume check, you know? It's not actually that personal. But Dig a Hole, he was pissed. and it was because of the way Dipset go about beefing. Like the way Dipset go about beefing is making fun of you, right?
Yeah.
They called, what do they call 50 Cent? They called him a gorilla with bird teeth or something.
I don't remember that.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
They talked about the Kufi smacking for like 10 years at least. Like there was at least 10 years of Kufi smacking references. The Jay-Z camel stuff. I remember them making fun of Jay-Z for being on a beach in open-toe sandals with socks on.
Yeah.
The chancleta.
And they were trolls. They were trolling before we really got the term down.
Definitely.
Yeah, dude.
They were, one of the things about them was they were the first ones in New York anyway, to me, that weren't trying to follow up in that like very serious rap lineage that you had from like Rakim and Kane and to Biggie and to all those things. They were, they kind of recognized that they weren't going to outdo Jay and Nas at that, and that wasn't their strong suit. And they could be the clowns and be just as successful, and they didn't need that aura of seriousness around them. And I feel like Wayne pushed that a lot further, and he was from the South, so he had a lot of other things. But that idea of like, to be the best, you have to be like Jay-Z. And they were the ones who were like, no, I don't. I just have to be me, and that's going to work for me. And I feel that was something that always like rattled the Jays and the Nas, like these like prophet, like, oh, I'm so smart. I'm like, I'm the best in the game. Like there's like, nah, it's like these guys that are not taking it that seriously are hotter in the streets than you are. And I always feel that rankled like everyone that was going up against them.
Because Wayne and Joel's, they were going to do a project together, right?
Yeah, Can't Feel My Face, the mixtape. They did that. Yeah.
Oh. I never put that together. You're right.
You were yeah,
that was you could definitely see there was an influence.
Oh yeah,
on Wayne from them.
He loved
Wayne had Heatmakers beats too on the Carter.
Yes,
too.
he did. Yes, he did. And like that's a great point. Just about like like to me, like Dipset was always kind of goofy. Like goofy in like an endearing, fun way. Like they didn't take, like you said, bro, they didn't take themselves too seriously. Like Jay would never allow himself to make a song like the Whistle Song. Like Nas would never make a song like the Whistle Song. Like Jay and Nas would never go about like the nursery rhyme scheme shit that like Cam did.
Cam would never do a Death of Auto Tune where he's like, no, we've got to keep rap serious. He's like, Cam's like,
sure, like
Cam was rhyming on Southern beats. Like he was like, the water's fine, come on in, I'm happy. Like he was doing double time. Like I can't remember who, if it was Defcee, like What Means the World to You. That was double time, like early, before you had to do that. He was like being proactive at jumping on those beats.
So Rob from Next Movement. I don't know if you've heard this song, but if after this, please go listen to the Hey Ma remix on Diplomatic Community, right? Now, here's the thing. Listen to it for this one reason. Listen and count how many times Cameron tells you this is the remix. It's the first thing it's the first thing he says. He says it to my ears about 8 to 10 times after that. Randomly, in like just while other people are singing, you know what I mean? It's fucking insane. And it's almost like there's moments with SD Knack where I'm not sure if he's facetious or if he's insane. And I think that's Cam has that, and Dipset had that, where they were like, do these guys know they're joking? Because I hope they do.
Knack would have been great over that era of Dipset. I never thought about that until you mentioned it. That would work.
Yep. SD Knack, Dipset.
I have a core memory with that Hey Ma remix where I was DJing a house party and a girl was grinding up on me. And it's dumb because like nothing happened, but it's just one of those things that happens when you're 20 years old and you're like, for whatever reason, I remember that years later, and it was off me playing that song.
Yeah. That's awesome.
The power of Dipset.
The power of Dipset.
Yeah, ladies love Dipset, bro. Honestly,
they do.
Like so many, like
because they're fun.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Like so many you know, like when we like look back on this stuff and like talk about it, whether it's the old or the new stuff, most of the people like a lot of people I know who like Dipset are women. You know, like women love Dipset. They always have, because they're fun. They don't take themselves seriously. They make, you know, like they don't, you know, like they do like back when everybody had to do like a song for the ladies. Like it was never, you know, like it was never like, I don't know, like they're just playful. That's the word. Like they're playful.
Is the way,
you know?
Yes.
Like that and like that made them really endearing to everybody. You know, like even people who would have nothing to do with anything that any of them were talking about if they weren't talking about it on those records. You know, like it kind of, you know, like it like gave them this like they were kind of like weirdos, but like they were of the shit they were talking about. It's like it's so hard to, it's just like one of those like East Coast tri-state area, if you know type things. Like I know at least a handful of people who are like each of those members. Like, you know, like I know a couple Camerons, I know a couple Jewelses, I know a couple Jims. Like these are like archetypes that have existed in my life since I was like a jit. You know, so like this is like I see that and I understand. I don't need to have it explained to me. I just get it. And you know, like that's how a lot of people around here feel.
That's interesting to me, because I feel even Cam at the beginning of his career didn't have that character down yet. Where you listen to the first two Cam albums, he can definitely rhyme,
right?
But he's still figuring out how to be that archetype, because he's like he's yelling, he's doing these murder songs where he's like, okay, like it's a good rhyme, but like you're not Eminem, you're not DMX, you're like, and then on, you know, right before Come Home With Me on the mixtapes, he just kind of locks into that laid back, I'm an asshole, I'm gonna say some stuff that like you probably couldn't stand me, but because it's me saying it and you know I'm playing, like you're gonna find it funny.
Exactly. Yeah, like that's yeah, like these are all things I think about when I think about Dipset. You know, like that was, you know, like I was never like I couldn't go like super deep, but like, you know, it was like I had my moments, they were around, and it's like I said, just kind of just one of those things you absorb through osmosis. Like there was no way around it. Like they were huge, you know, like especially when like they, you know, like when when Jewels had the Whistle song, when Jim had We Fly High, when Cam had like pretty much any song on Purple Haze. Harlem Nights is my favorite song on Purple Haze.
Yeah.
I've loved Harlem Nights for years, you know, like that's like, and of course, you know, like Cam kind of became the superstar, and he's, you know, like like the new music's not great, but he made his bones. He's an icon. He's like, he could just show up. So he's kind of like Deezus and Mero in the sense where he can just like show up somewhere and like say some shit in his accent and then make $100,000 and be cool. You know, like that's why people love him and Mace's show so much. You know, like him, yeah, no, like him and Mace's. Okay, I gotta share a quick little tidbit, because like there's an episode of their show, I forget which one it is, but Cam starts talking about his relationship with Just Blaze. And you know, like I'm from Jersey, I live 20 minutes from Patterson, so like that's where he's from. So like I'm listening, seeing like I see like on Twitter, like, oh yeah, like they're talking about Just Blaze. Let me listen. So like Cam starts telling the story about how he noticed that the beat for Oh Boy was just sitting on this beat tape, and everybody would come to the studio. Like Beanie Siegel came to the studio, passed it up. Memphis Bleak came to the studio, passed it up. Like all these people would hear the CD. Nobody was picking his shit up. And I think Jewels told Cam, like, I know you want that beat, just fucking take it, bro. Just take it was like 2 months. He like saw people like flirting with it for 2 months. And then Jewels was like, Cam, take it. Cam took it. He recorded Oh Boy like in secret, because I think he might have been trying to get it to Jay.
Yeah,
I think is what he said. So, you know, and then like him and Just Blaze they got into like a little tiff, because like Cam recorded it behind his back, and they did, and like they sent it to the DJs, and the DJs made the song hot. So like the song wasn't officially released when it first came out. So, you know, like Just Blaze is like mad because like they don't get any royalties off of that. And like the whole time Cam just starts doing this like really crazy imitation of his of like the way he talks. He's like, well, actually, Cam, we can't collect no money off the back end, and then like the whole time Mace is looking at him and he's like, he was saying it like that. He's like, yeah, no, nah. He was like, I love Just Blaze, but Just Blaze is Ivy League. He wasn't in it about none of this street shit. And the best part is at the end when Cam's like, he's just like, just like, do you want to be like a hit producer? And he's just like, not actually. My dream is Wall Street. And so like, and just like all this other shit. And I'm just
crazy.
That day, Jersey niggas went down 30 points. I was so upset.
Oh, man.
I was so, as a Jersey kid from the suburbs, I was hurt. I felt that shit in my soul. It's like, you put us all on blast, son. I'm not happy.
Look, another spiritual connection with the west side of Chicago and Cam. Again, I'm from the suburbs, but the suburb I'm from is 5 minutes down Chicago Avenue from the west side.
Of course, yeah.
The apart from getting money and looking fly, the antagonism, the ability to roast you in a way that specifically will get under your skin just enough, and it's funny.
Yep.
That's Cam and Mace's trademark. That's why the only person who's ever been able to beat Cam in a battle is Mace. Only person who's ever beaten Cam in a battle is Mace, and it's for that reason.
I get it. I grew up 20 minutes from Newark, so I got the exact I got that exact parallel.
Yeah.
This was like a few years ago, but if I recall, there was like this whole conversation where Just Blaze will not go on a podcast with Dame Dash anymore because apparently Dame Dash just keeps saying, hey, remember when I made fun of your shoes and like 02?
Jack, on Combat Jack.
And like Just Blaze is damn near crying. He's like, it's 20 years ago. How do you remember my fucking shoes, bro?
Yo, the argument those two had on Combat Jack.
That was it.
And then the way it turned into like, you know, when like Just Blaze talking about his father passing away and how Dame was the first person who checked in on him.
Fair.
And was like very sincerely asking after him. I thought that was a cool thing for him to share in the midst of like, you got to really keep your head cool with somebody like Dame, because he's again, it's like that antagonism, but ultimately to bring it back to something more sincere, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's something that I appreciate about all those guys. And I think Come Home With Me is kind of a perfect encapsulation of that, where it's between they don't take themselves too seriously and they don't take other rappers too seriously, but when it's time for them to take something seriously, they do.
Right.
And you can hear it on the record.
Cam's on the cover with his seed too. He put his boy on the cover with him.
Right. No, it's I would say, it's an important thing to keep up. By the way, R.I.P. Combat Jack. I studied those interviews. Fucking, I wouldn't be doing this without that.
Rest in peace to Reggie.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wrote like a piece a while ago that was like long time ago. It was like top 5 Combat Jack interviews that you need to hear. So those are still important. But in terms of my theory, Cameron theory, just wanted to kick this for a little bit. I wish Zilla was here. He's in Ireland in a grassy field, but I kind of keep track of rappers who I feel like were almost the best rapper in the world, who were like really close but didn't make it that last inch. I consider Cameron one of those. I Come Home With Me is my favorite of his albums. Dead or Alive, like that. It's just a perfect pop rap album. I know that like Purple Haze is for New York, right? Like that's just the sound of it. But Come Home With Me is just magnetic, and I feel like he could have taken over the world in an alternate dimension, where Jay-Z isn't in Liar Cohen's office, just, prepping his plans. But
I think to bring it back to how casual Cam is, I think the ill thing about Cam and his style is he's doing so much work from a technical standpoint in terms of how he rhymes, but he's not, but it sounds effortless. It sounds like he can just do it all day, which is why like we used to make fun of I get computers putin, do oosie, oosie. Like we used to make fun of that. And then years later, when I grew the hell up and I went back and I listened to it, I was like, oh, he's reeling off these like 10-syllable rhyme schemes like it's nothing. And it just sounds like the easiest thing in the world because he's so naturally good at rapping. And right. I think he's somebody who's really, it's been nice to see him get his flowers. And for all of us who fronted on him for so long, and on Jim and on Jewels and on J.R. Ryder and people like Hellrell and 40 Cal too. I think for so many of us who kind of fronted on these guys for a long time, we're able to like come back around once we grew up and matured and kind of let go of a lot of the pure hip hop bullshit. We were able to let go of that and realize how talented these guys were as writers, as rappers, and as songwriters too.
That's exactly what happened to me, what you're talking about. So I echo that for sure.
That is a beautiful thing, Defcee. I'd like to counter it. Go ahead, Dylan. You go first.
I don't want to front because Defcee's talking about a very specific person doing a very specific parody of a very specific Cameron flow. There was a bit in one of his videos where he was reeling off some shit, and like in the middle, he just says like I think he said like it was my off day. I didn't know what to do. I was high on glue, sipping on pie at the zoo, and every time because like. That really is like some shit that Cam would say. Like he's like high on glue, eating pie at the zoo. Like, huh? Like, just like it. But it's like it sounds stupid. It would sound stupid coming out of anybody else's mouth. But he just made it. It was so easy. Like, like when I got older, I kind of linked him and Doom because of that.
Yeah,
like the two of them were so natural. With just like the weirdest sounding shit, like like the Mad Villainy anniversary just happened, and I've been living with that album all week because it's like a foundational one for me, and one of my favorite moments. My favorite song on that album is Operation Lifesaver. The whole thing is about him trying to give a day to Breath Mint. Right. Like Cam would make songs. He would like that's kind of how Cam wrote. Like he would write about these like banal, just like everyday things in a way that sounded like so cool, and like I kind of like that's how I like I kind of linked Cam and Doom that way pretty early on, especially like probably like around college when I started to also get off like my backpack shit.
My favorite, like the way people say Rakim, Kane, G-Rap, or Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas, or like the kid, whatever the whole Kendrick, J. Cole, Drake thing. For me, the 2000s, it's Doom, Ghost, Cam, and they all have that absurdist. We're taking rap, but we're kind of deconstructing it. But we take it. We know the rules, so we know when to break them, and we know how to make it fun.
Right.
But the one thing that I do remember that's a negative, and I kind of put myself in this position, but like I do remember it got a little tired when you had that wave of people that were like, oh, Dipset's the best, but they were treating it as a joke, where like you felt like the fans weren't taking it seriously and they were laughing at it. Like, whereas like, oh, I'm laughing with it, but like you're just kind of listening to this in between your Panic at the Disco record, and you're laughing because like Cam flipped like whatever ridiculous sample. Yeah. And that was the point where it's like it took the shine off it like a little bit. And then like, they moved on and like the reputation like went back to where it was supposed to be. But I do remember like 05, 06, like before Jimmy like kind of popped off the second wave with the whole Bird Gang, like that was kind of irritating me at the time in my whole online discourse.
And I want to build off that, Granddaddy S. I know Rob and Defcee have bounced on a counter Defcee's point and talk a little bit, Kay. I had a Dipset nervous breakdown a little bit. Like I cover mixtapes, right? I started covering mixtapes, and there was a point when Dipset had split up, but each one of them had their own crew, right? Bird Gang over here, and everybody kind of over in their places. So there were 1 million people that were Dipset affiliates, and they were all doing that, that flow.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly walking back from the bus stop to my apartment, listening to Dipset and just getting pissed and being like, I'm trapped in this fucking flow. Get me out of here. I hate this. I can't do any more of this, but when they do fall out of the spotlight, like I missed it and I went back to it. It was one of those things. So yeah. We've been rocking for a while, guy. I just wanted any closing points on it. We're going to go to recommendation corner.
No.
I think I'm good. I think I said it.
Recommendation.
Yeah,
what's up? So go ahead. Nope.
I was, all I was gonna say was, I mean, like Dipset was definitely they were definitely like I can't think about rap in the 2000s and not think about Dipset. Like even though I wasn't like the biggest fan with the deepest knowledge, like the stuff that impacted me really impacted me, and I still think about it. Like even though I wasn't like fully, like I liked it, obviously, like especially the bigger stuff, but like going back and like re-listening to the Jewel's album today, and like going back through Purple Haze and going back through just like everything I could find before we hopped on, like like that shit was like, that is the 2000s to me, especially as somebody who like, I didn't grow up in the city, but I grew up like close enough to New York that like all it's like all the cultural runoff is like like I'm like 20 minutes from the city, so like it's all the cultural runoff is just right there. So it was like it was inescapable. So like that's a very specific moment of time for me. So it's been cool to go down memory lane, for better and for worse.
It's great. And
yes, same for me. It just reminds me of college, of being like I mean, like I didn't grow out of New York City. I grew up in Montreal, and I'm actually writing a piece that should drop very soon on probably the one, current producer out of the city that people know. Like if you know, yeah, finally.
Craven, yeah.
And it's going back to an era, like just kind of reminiscing with him about an era where it was kind of still hard to be a rap fan out here because the city was arcade fired out, and because it wasn't being given the respect that it kind of deserved. And eventually, the gatekeepers had no choice. Time moved on. But it like rap at the time still felt like something that could be your secret. And Dipset like doubly so, because even the backpackers didn't get it. So like it was like, if you knew, you knew. And now like years later, if you run into someone who was around back then and you bring up Dipset and they get it, like you had that shared experience. And I guess for me it's meaningful for that. It's just like, it was a moment in time, like the music, but also the fashion, the fact that they were on this, like it wasn't an underground thing, but it also wasn't a mainstream thing. It was like that point where Def Jam could put out a record and it'll go gold, but Anderson Cooper still has to look up who the hell Cameron is to get him on his show.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It was a crazy time. Thank you. Everybody showed love who couldn't come. Rohan reached out, and Sleeping Dogs and everybody who was trying to get it. So I love to everybody. Recommendation corner. First, we got to talk Nicholas F. MMCHT.
It's on my list. I can't wait.
Love the Nicholas F. MMCHT is dope. I'm very excited about it, and I've been rocking it. It's great. He's just so talented. The other one is a little interesting. Kay, you got to check this one out. It's the album's called From the Throne Room, and it's Aaron Abernathy.
Abernathy, that's a crazy last name, bro.
Yes. I think it's in Washington, D.C. Apparently, singer, songwriter, producer, entertainer. He had worked with, Slum Village, Black Milk. He collaborated with Jack White, Foreign Exchange. Say R&B, as you know, is full of these behind the scenes guys who never get a chance to come out. And this is his album, and it's R&B, it's soul, it's funk. There's moments that are almost sonically gospel, like big, fun shit. I love. It's just a 14 tracks, and it's got a ton of energy. It's super fun to listen to. So I think yeah, got to check it out and dig it. I got Bandcamp.
What's his name?
Aaron Abernathy.
Okay.
And yeah, I got a $50 Bandcamp gift card, the first of a few that I got. And I was like, none of this is gonna go to hip hop. I'm stocking up on other stuff. I'm gonna go to Sub Pop. I'm gonna check out what's going on at all these places. And I loaded up on some other shit, different genres. It's dope. So I've been having a great time mixing it up. Yeah. So those are my two. SonRaw, what do you got for what do you listen to?
All right, I'm trying to like come up with something that's actually all right. I got one that people won't have heard. Legendary grime crew Rough Squad. That's SQWAD, as it should be. They just dropped like their comeback record, Flea.fm, and it's 20 minutes. And what I really like about it is it's not an album, it's not an EP. It's them kind of doing an in-studio version of like a live on the radio freestyle session, which like that was huge in grime back in the day, but it also kind of like goes in with those Funkmaster Flex radio freestyles from the early 2000s. And it's so good. Like they've all hit middle age, and the crew's like gone down from like 20 kids to like 3 adults who are still doing it as part of the group or whatever.
Right.
But I really recommend that if people want to hear like classic grime but updated for today. And the other one that I have to shout out, I got to do some self promo. That's me, SonRaw G Ramsey Volume 1, my new beat tape. It's all done on a modular synthesizer, and it's me combining sample flips with my new gear and seeing what comes out. There's like some dancehall bits on there, some boom bap, some double time. There's all kinds of stuff, but I encourage everybody to check that.
That's tough.
What do you got, Dylan?
So I got 3 that I can think of. The first is so this kid out of Atlanta, his name's Fear Dorian. I don't know if anybody's heard of him. He's extra dope, affiliated with like Surf Gang, like Evil Gianni, who produced the Kendrick and Baby Keem song and the Earl song with him and Clams Casino did the Danny D. Kane song for Earl Sweatshirt. But like I've been a fan of Fear Dorian's for a while. Like I'm big on Surf Gang and all that shit. And Fear Dorian just put out his self-titled debut. Kid is, I just learned yesterday, son is 17 years old. He's like on some Red Veil shit. He's special, man. Like he like produces and I believe mixes and masters all his own stuff. He's nuts, insane. Like kind of he's the type of person who's like he's pulling from like rap and indie rock and like vaporwave, and it's like all 3 in one. He's insane. Like I'm really fucking with the project. I'm turning the review in tomorrow. I'm hoping for like a high 7. We'll see what happens. So that's my first one. My second one is another a lady out of Atlanta. Her name's Veda. She's extra fucking dope. She and this producer named Attention Whore put out a really dope project called I gotta find it. I gotta find my play or actually no, I'll just look up the album. It was Fever. So they put out an EP called Fever maybe about a month and change. So like I've been stuck on that. I've been a fan of Veda ever since I heard her 2 projects that came out last year. She's super tight. And then my last one is also like not so much like a plug for me, but a plug for something affiliated to me. It's One Shot Once and Drive By 6-Wheel Drive, which came out not too long ago. That project's incredible. Those are my homies. Like those are like my real friends. I just had them on the pod this past week. They're, you know, we posted the longest episode of Real Notes ever. It was like over 2.5 hours. I tend to cap mine like at like 2 hours and change, but this one went for almost 3. It was a crazy convo.
Isn't your book dropping this month?
Oh,
too?
digital.
My book is out now. Real
shit,
Notes, Culture Writing on the Margins of Music and Movies. It's been out since it came out on March 8th, so it's been almost a month. So yeah, the book's available only on Amazon digital. You don't need to own a Kindle to buy it. Just get the Kindle app, or you can buy it and read it on your computer through the link on Amazon. But we do it like there will be physicals coming. I'm gonna be doing more original writing for the physicals. Like I promise there's books coming, but for now, we just want like the thing's like 85 pages. I hope people read it and enjoy it and fuck with it. If anybody listening is in the New York area, next Friday, I'm having a book release that that's gonna double as a live interview with a Kai Solo. So we're gonna do all of that. So yeah, no, it's we got shit going on over here, but those are my 3 recommendations and 1 plug.
Amazing. Proud of you for all the work. It's been great to see.
Thank you.
The takeover. So
and honestly, I wanted to give y'all your flowers. Like 200 episodes is nothing to sneeze at.
For sure.
Like it's incredible to see, like, you know, like to continuously be invited here is always a pleasure to come on here and talk to y'all. Like I think it's got to be like my 4th or 5th time on here, and like you call, I come if I'm not busy. So like, you know, like y'all, this is it's y'all's day, it's y'all's world right now. So I'm just happy. I'm happy that this is like 200 episodes. Like it's some people don't make it to 50, bro. Like making it to 200 is an achievement. So like, congratulations for real. I'm happy to be here, and happy birthday, Dan. I didn't say that yet, but happy birthday.
Yeah, the cake. I don't know. I was gonna do the math, but I didn't get a chance with my son because other shit popped up. But like, so if the math is like this, right? Think about this. We started this April of 2020. That's when we started this, right? It is April of 2024. 52 weeks in a year, 4 years. 52 times 4 is 208.
Yep. This
is the 200th episode.
So
we missed 8 episodes in 4 years.
Like that's yeah, like y'all, yeah, like the 2 of y'all, that's crazy. Like, you know, like I started in March of 2021. So like, and I'm at 120 something. You know, like that's just so dope to me. You know, like that's missing 8 episodes in 4 years is like, you know, like consistency is important. So, and that's one of the
Patreon. It's worth it. But yeah,
come on,
thank you.
Patronize, do it.
Love. Oh, also, Kay, I finally am going to start reading Octavia Butler. Everybody tells me Octavia Butler's awesome.
Tap in. She's nuts, bro.
Dash Lewis was like Start with Dawn, which is a collection of short stories to kind of get you in the universe. I was like, I fuck with that. I like that as an idea. So I'm gonna start with Dawn and keep it to the next level. But a lot of people that have been on here that we value Octavia Butler a lot. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I don't have a podcast, but I just got some incredible news that Stove God's Cooks is touring my city. That shit does not happen.
Ooh.
I gotta see if they let him pass the border. I gotta see if they let him back into the States when he's done.
Yeah, no, he's got to be careful, bro.
Yep. Tell Chung she's the truth when you see her. Kay, what are your recommendations?
Oh no, man, no recommendation this week. But you guys, as always, a lot of great things I want to check out.
Yep. Kay's recommendation is always don't vote and don't hang out with people who do vote. That's what he says.
Hey.
Thank you.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for 200 episodes. If you believe the earth is flat, email K Diggy, make a case. His email's always open.
What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow